Here I go again. You know, there's really no demand for any of my videos. I simply do them for myself, and I insist upon doing it even though I don't have enough time and I'm putting too much pressure on myself. And all that leads me to think that I must really dislike myself, or that I like myself too much and just really love hearing myself talk. Selection 4 and 5. The Heir and The Crown. I said I wouldn't do this, and I didn't believe myself for a second. Just like beauty products advertised to men, this will be a 2-in-1. Because there's just not enough plot. Let's get into it straight away. The year was 2015. I was a young 14-year-old child, and I had just come out of my phase where I read every YA book series ever. You know, I've read them all. I've read the classics. You know, your Harry Potters, your Percy Jacksons, your Hunger Games, your Divergents. Okay, I read your Twilights, your Mortal Instruments, Infernal Devices. You know, I've read it, you see. Except The Maze Runner. And I will never read The Maze Runner. But I will also never watch the movies because one day I might read The Maze Runner. It's all very complicated. You know, I was 14, you know, I was insecure. All was unwell in my world when the news struck. Kiera Cass, famed author of the thrilling Selection Princess Bachelor series, had come out with a 4th book. The universe was shaking. You know, what is this, they asked? Isn't the story over? Aren't 17-year-old America and 18-year-old Maxim not in a fulfilling, loving marriage? What could we possibly want more? But Miss Cass had had a vision. The story 'twas not over. No, because a new heroine had emerged. A young woman born to the palace of Elia. The first of her kind. Princess Edeline Shreve. The daughter of Max in America. Princess Bachelorette, everybody. God, I was so excited when I heard about it. I loved the Selection series at 13. And so I immediately got my hands on the book and I read it all in one day, and it sucked. I hated it. And me saying that a book sucked was something, because I insisted upon finishing every series even though it made me miserable. Oh, and I read, of course, the 5th book a year later, and I also thought it sucked. But now I am grown and wise and 20 years old, which that sneaks up on you. You know, I was 17 yesterday, and having recently reread Selection 1 and 3 and finding that my judgment of Maxim was indeed very much off, and he was not the fairy prince of my dreams, but so annoying. It was inevitable for my fragile peace of mind to ask myself if I had indeed misjudged Edeline Shreve. We start, of course, with The Heir. About 20-ish years have passed since we finished with the one. And America and Maxim are king and queen now, and they have kept busy. They have their own family, and it consists of 18-year-old Edeline Shreve, future queen, and main protagonist of the story, her twin brother, born 7 minutes after her, Aaron, and her 2 younger brothers, which are named Caden and Austin. And not like other girls, America Singer Shreve has given birth to another incarnation of early 2010 womanhood. The Girlboss. Edeline is a total girl boss. She has it all, you know. She knows how to gatekeep, to gaslight. She has no time to be fun, but plenty of time to judge everyone born to less privilege than she is. Now, Maxim has abolished the caste system that we had in book 1 to 3. But not all is well in Ilia. People have the audacity of not being content with being poor, and the continuing discrimination based on class. The young people are upset You know, they think everybody should have the same opportunities. And how do we fix the socio-economic crisis? Maybe enforcing more anti-discrimination laws. Maybe making college tuition free. Of course not. What do you think? No, absolutely not. Because the people do not want this truly. No, they are stupid sheep and they need to be distracted. So we're putting on a new selection. So King Maxim calls his daughter and is like, you know, we told you we would do this to you, but we really think we need to hold a selection to distract the people because they're being unruly. And Edeline is like, oh no, absolutely not. I hate people and I have no time to be in love because I got the Girlboss. This is really not my shade anymore. But I bought it. What am I gonna do? Buy another one? But eventually, she agrees to holding a selection because she talked to her brother Aaron, who is criminally spelled A-H-R-E-N, and her brother Austin is spelled O-S-T-E-N. Anyway, Aaron tells her to finesse the situation to her advantage. So she goes to her dad and says, okay, man, let's do this, player. But I want some conditions, and that is that I give you 3 months, and if in 3 months I don't like any of these guys, I get to send them all home and I don't have to get married. And her dad is like, okay, and in those 3 months I will figure out what to do about the stupid people. And so the selection is on. But what King Maxim doesn't know is that Edeline, Girlboss Shreve, doesn't intend to marry. And she wants to scare every single one of her suitors off. You know, okay, time passes, the day of the choosing happens, and all the boys come to the palace and she meets them. Here are the important candidates you need to know for later. Kyle Woodwork. He is the son of Marley. And he has lived in the palace his entire life. And he and Edeline have known each other forever. But they hate each other because Kyle thinks that Edeline is a brat and selfish. And Edeline thinks that Kyle is ugly because he doesn't comb his hair and he reads a lot and he's a nerd. And Edeline hates nerds. He also has a younger sister named Josie, and Edeline hates Josie. You know, because how dare Josie have friends and giggle and like Edeline's jewelry? Doesn't this 15-year-old know that she is poor and unimportant and that she will never have an arranged marriage because nobody really cares for her? You have nothing, Josie. Another important contestant is Henry, who is an immigrant from Swendway. He only speaks Finnish, so he has no way of communicating with Edeline, and he has a translator named Eric with him at all times. Then we have Hale, who is nice and stylish, and he works for a tailor, and he loves fashion. Then we have Ian, who is spelled E-A-N, some guy named Fox, and some guy named Baden. They exist. I will bring them up later, but don't worry about them, honestly. And then they have a parade. And on the parade, people suddenly pull out like protest posters and they throw rotten food at Edeline. And how could they do that? I'm their future queen. Don't they love me? The next day, to distract from that whole fiasco and to show that she's a decisive person and people can't just mess with her like that, she immediately eliminates about 15 contestants. You're ugly, you can go, and you looked at my boobs and I hate you. However, this doesn't go over so well with the public, and now instead of thinking that she's decisive or whatever, they think that she's a cold-hearted bitch. So, to shift the narrative yet again, she calls up Kyle and is like, hey, the people think I'm a bitch, so we need to soften me. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna kiss. And it's gonna be a staged kiss, and reporters are gonna wait in the shadows. And Kyle's like, cool, let's do this, but under the condition that you talk to my mom about letting me leave the palace. They chat for a while after that, and now just then and there, in the 18 years that they have known each other, she finds out that he has interests and he wants to be an architect. Buildings? That's so cool, bro. They have a staged kiss, but suddenly it doesn't feel so fake after all, and Edeline feels a little tingle. Sadly, the people interpret this as Edeline being a hoe for kissing one of her contestants like 2 days in. Okay, so Edeline goes on more dates, so they have stuff to talk about on the news, because the nation could care less about jobs and social reform if an 18-year-old shared an ice cream sundae with a acne-prone, gangly teenage boy. One date is with this guy named Hale, and when he asks about her family and inner world, Edeline totally freaks out and runs away. And in that moment, it dawned on me, Edeline is actually not as awful as I thought she was, but I will get to that later. She goes on a date with Ian, and Ian says, listen, I never thought honestly that the way you behaved yourself recently that you would ever want to get married, and I just want to tell you that I would love to marry you, not because I like you, but because I like comfort and all that stuff, and if we get married then you could keep your freedom and have any relationships you want. And she's like, word, let me think about that. Then she goes on another date with Baden, they play the piano, and then she goes on a date with some guy, some creepy guy. They watch a movie, and he has a degradation kink. You know, Edeline is not the kinky type. No, he's actually being quite rude, and he touches her arm without her permission, says some very rude things to her, and then Aaron, her brother, punches him in the face and he gets thrown out. He's a creepy creep. She's very shaken by this, men are the worst, and the guy gets sent home. She recovers, however, by making out with Kyle. She does this now semi-regularly, but she still hates it when he asks her about her feelings and thoughts and all that stuff. But, he doesn't need to ask questions. He just needs to know how to lay down some pipes. Some uneventful stuff happens. Some guys go home. She kind of likes this guy named Henry, the one that can't even talk to her without his translator. I don't know why. So she goes on a group date with Kyle, Henry, Fox, and some guy I forgot. Let's call him Bruce. They cook, and Fox and Bruce make an awful dish, and Bruce gets really mad at Fox for allegedly sabotaging their dish, so much that hands are thrown and Edeline accidentally gets knocked down by Bruce. She's rushed out of the fight by Eric. Remember him? He is Henry's translator. He is actually kind of nice, but their conversation is bland, so I won't retell you. Bruce leaves too because anger issues. Can't remember the plot. She bakes with Henry and then she kisses him. I don't exactly know why. Another guy named Baden leaves the palace too because he is pissed she does not spend more time with him. And he tells the press afterwards that she is a stuck-up bitch. So all in all, the selection is going terribly, and people's opinion of Edeline has never been lower. People really dislike Edeline, plus there have been more and more protests and complaints, and Edeline hates it because, and I semi-quote, they think we can solve all their problems, but it's really on them. Oh, and some people are apparently calling for an end to the monarchy. Good for them. I am the people. Down with the monarchy, the aristocracy, and the bourgeoisie, and long live the dictatorship of Taylor Allison Swift. To distract from the disaster that is the selection, Aaron's girlfriend Camille, the future Queen of France, gets invited to throw a party. Edeline is really jealous of Camille because she is like good at everything and I'm not good at everything. And she's afraid to lose her brother because once him and Camille get married, he will become Prince Consort of France and will have to move there. And so she talks to Aaron and is like, look, Camille is nice, but do you really think she is the one? And Aaron is like, why would you even say that? And she's like, I mean, there are plenty of nice girls in Ilya. Her and Eric have another talk, like, it's kind of sad that you, didn't put your name into the selection. And he's like, well,
I am too humble to put my name into the selection.
You might have noticed that this book is incredibly boring and nothing happened. Well, you're right. So now drama happens at the end. The last 20 pages. Okay, her brother Aaron, after her talk, after the fight between the twins, has decided to elope with Camille, and they have run off to France. As a result of that, Queen America has a heart attack and is rushed to the hospital, and she is dying. He left a letter to Elon that says this. He's basically like, I know why you don't like Camille, and that is because you want me all for yourself, and that's selfish. Before you could ask for my life, I gave it to Camille. I wish you could find love, Edeline, the reckless, relentless kind that consumes you. If you could, then maybe you'd understand. I hope someday you will. My happiness with Camille is tarnished by one thing, that I may be estranged from you if you chose not to forgive me. As a testimony to my desire to always be there for you, I want to give you one last piece of information, something that may help you in the coming months. More provinces are protesting the monarchy than you could guess. Not all of them, but plenty. And while it pains me to tell you this, the problem people have with the monarchy stems from one person, you. I don't know why, perhaps of your youth, but perhaps because of your gender, perhaps for reasons none of us could believe, but they worry. Dad's aging beyond his years, the stress at the amount of things he's accomplished in his reign is bigger than his predecessors, and the general population thinks you will ascend soon, and they are not prepared. And I only tell you this because I think you can change your mind. Stop holding everyone at bay, Edeline. You can be brave and still be feminine, you can lead and still love flowers. Most important, you can be queen and still be a bride. I think those who cannot know you the way I do would finally have a glimpse of this side of you if you consider finding a mate. I could be wrong, but just in case this is the last time you ever want to speak to me, I must give you the only piece of advice I can. I hope you can forgive me, your brother, your twin, your other piece, Aaron.
You know, I got war flashbacks when I heard the words mate.
So except Aaron, everyone's in the hospital. You know, Maxim is a mess. He's crying on Aspen's shoulder.
Aspen is there. I never mentioned this. Aspen is there. He's a general now, and he married Lucy.
And there's this really like depressing side information thing where like Lucy and him were never able to have children.
So like Edeline is kind of his replacement daughter. Okay, anyway, everybody in the royal family is like really sad and depressed, and then the boys come in and they're like, oh my god, Edeline, we're like so sorry, your mom is like dying. We will pray for her. And then they all pray, and Edeline looks at the boys and he looks at the love that her parents have and the love that Aaron had to Camille and the letter, and she decides that in the end, she will finish the selection by choosing one of the boys to marry, and they have found a place in her heart. Not to play psychologist, but don't you think, babe, that this sudden decision to find love may come from the feeling that your family is abandoning you, either by dying or by running away to France? Nope. Alright then, the end of book 4. The main thing that I noticed is that this is supposed to be a romance book, but it doesn't feel very romancy to me. Like, this book is way more about Edeline and her inner life and her flaws, and believe me, there are many. She is conceited, she often doesn't think about others, she is vain, she is closed off, she expects love and devotion from everybody around her, but she doesn't want to give it to anybody. She is manipulative. She is so judgy. So judgy. A man, I assume, with her head shed bowed to us. Not able to go very low because of his wide stomach. So Josie has her friends over and they talk, and it will be a good experience for everyone, I heard Josie remark to her friend. I don't get to interact with boys very often, so it'd be nice to have an opportunity to talk to someone. One day when my wedding is arranged, I like to be able to carry on a conversation. I rolled my eyes. If I thought I'd have the slightest attachment to these boys, it would have bothered me that she thought they were here for her. Then again, Josie thought anything existed for her. And the idea that she was so important that her marriage would need to be arranged on her behalf was comical. She could marry anyone off the street and no one would care one way or the other. And Josie called over to her. Didn't you hear me, Edeline? Aren't you excited for selection? I wasn't going to holler like a farmhand, so I said nothing.
Eventually, Josie and her friends were standing above me. Of course I'm excited. Me too. I think it'll be exciting to have all the company. You won't have any company, I reminded her. These boys are my guests. However, having said all that about Edeline, I realized something. Edeline is a much better character than America or Maxon. She is much better than any character in this selection universe. She has so many flaws, but you understand the flaws. You know, she grew up in a lot of privilege. She has a lot of pressure on her. Edeline is so much, and it makes her a person in a way that neither America or Maxon ever were. She also has some traits that I find genuinely refreshing. Like, she's not humble at all. She loves luxury baths. She loves crowns. She loves jewelry. She loves gifts. She is never humble, and she's very decisive. You know, she tells it like it is all the time. When men are bothering her, she tells it, you're bothering me. So Edeline, I think for all that I hated her when I was young, I now have to go back and see that she's much more like me than I ever wanted to admit. Despite not being a very sympathetic character, she's much better developed in one book than America is in 3 books. And I don't think you need to love a protagonist for it to be a good protagonist. However, then we move on to book 2, The Crown. Look at this cover. I feel like she's staring into my soul. So this book is 278 pages long. It's shorter than The Heir. Mind you, in The Heir, the 4th book, nothing really happens. Okay, the romance has not even really started yet, so I cannot approve this. But what I assume happened is the publishing house called Kiera Cass and was like, Kiera, this book is not selling as well as the others, and people don't like it, because I remember back then people didn't like it. People don't like this, and they don't like Edeline, so instead of writing 2 more books and have each girl have 3 books on her own, please wrap this up in under 300 pages. And also, everybody hates Edeline. Let's make a new Edeline. Because this Edeline, wow. She got 1 letter from her brother saying, be a good person. And now she is the greatest. You know, she is the grandest. Therefore, this book, all of a sudden, not only has a completely new Edeline, but also invents a love story real quick. So it can wrap the shindig up. It's not as if The Heir had no romance elements to it. No, of course, she had plenty of dates, and she likes some of the guys. However, there's no candidate that stands out at all. And you would think it's Kyle, but it's really not. We open on a news report because, I don't know, the news. Everybody loves the news in this universe. We open on a news report. Queen America has had a heart attack, but she is recovering. And King Maxon is so distraught that he named Edeline regent while he is busy taking care of his wife and sitting by her bedside. This being a stressful time and all, Edeline decides to cap the candidates to the elite. You know, 6 boys remain. We have Kyle, Henry, Ian, Hale, Fox, and some guy named Gunnar. So Edeline is running the country now. Lit. Bestie, get it. Okay? Girlboss things. Her first meeting with her advisor board happens, and she immediately fires a guy who called her too emotional and insisted upon going to war with France over them approving the elopement of Aaron and Camille. Fire him. Girlboss move. Oh, and to mention here that the board is all men. Boo men, except 1 woman, the longest serving advisor, Lady Bryce. I would skip her, but she's somehow important in the end. She's kind of like an assistant to Edeline. Okay, so she gets a call from a guy named Merritt. Now, Merritt is the son of Georgia and August Ilya. Remember from book 1 and 2, 3? And apparently, after Maxon took office, they lived in the palace, and August and Maxon worked very closely in solving the caste system, but one day they got into a big fight, and
August and Georgia and their young son left the castle in the middle of the night, and they have had no contact since. And the fight was apparently about how Maxon doesn't dissolve the caste systems fast enough and how everything is not going that great. But suddenly Merritt calls and he's like, congratulations, like, I'm sure you're gonna do a great job. Merritt is also a popular radio personality and kind of a celebrity in Ilya. The selection goes on. She goes on a date with Kyle. They say, I have feelings for you, and she says, I have feelings for you too, kind of, maybe, potentially. Then she kisses this guy named Gunnar, and they have no feelings for each other, so after the kiss, Gunnar also leaves the selection, so we now have 5. She has a date with Henry, and she finds it very tedious that she has to go through Eric every time she wants to talk to Henry, because Henry doesn't know English, and Eric even says that Henry is trying to learn, but he's not learning very fast, and at this rate, you might not have a real true conversation with him for many years. But she likes Henry anyway, like they kissed and all, and he seems very lovely, and he likes her so much. He is her fan. Later, she meets Eric in front of the kitchen, and they have a talk, and she says, no, I have not fallen for any of the boys yet. Cool. We need to fix that in the next 200 pages. Okay, so she calls Merritt and is like, what's up? And Merritt is like, hey boss babe, I'm so happy you called because I've got this super great idea. You know how people don't like you? Because they think you're too young and cold and whatever, and the people feel unheard about the persistent discrimination of class and caste and the housing issue caused by a recent economic boom. A lot of people are homeless, player. And she's like, word, yeah. And so he's like, let's do a town hall meeting broadcast, because you need to broadcast everything here with a few of your subjects so you can get in touch with your people, you know, check the vibe, listen to them. And Elon is like, hell yeah, let's check this vibe. So they have a meeting with some people. Goes fine, you know. They argue in the beginning a bit, and one girl says, hey, I want a democracy. And Elon is like, no. I'm trying to do purple makeup because the cover of The Crown is purple. So her and Merritt are besties now. You know, Merritt is also very popular with the people. He has a lot of great approval ratings, better than Idalene. Okay, so America has woken up from her coma, and Idalene goes to visit her mom and her dad, and they are like, we are so tired, blah blah blah, and Idalene is like, you should really rest, like you two have been working so hard for 20 years. And so Idalene goes, maybe you could just make me permanent queen right now, and then you two can rest and have a normal marriage. And her dad is like, that is so nice of you, honey pie. Oh my gosh, what a great idea. Yes, I will immediately leave the power of the country to an 18-year-old who is generally disliked by the public in a time when the legitimacy of the monarchy is being questioned. So Eileen will be queen now. This is terrible. Maybe if I commit. Awful. I just look sad. I don't want to redo this. In her love life, there have been some brewing tensions with Hale recently. And they talk, and he says he cannot marry her. And you know why? He is already in love with someone else. Ian! They kissed in the men's room and are in love apparently now. Miss Cass has done it again. Making the most interesting storylines, not the center of the book. A la Chris being a rebel. I do find it a little bit amusing that Miss Cass decided to make the tailor, who has previously expressed a love for America's style and dresses and has sewn some dresses for her, the gay one. I mean, I thought at the moment I got introduced to him. You know, my wrist, it started quivering. But I thought, hey, maybe she's being progressive and not insisting upon heteronormative interests. You know, Idalene, in her newfound graciousness, decides to forgive him and Ian and not flog them like in
like with Marley, and tells them that they have her blessing to be together. So Ian and Hale are out of the running too. Now it's only Kyle, Henry, and Fox. The day before the coronation, she meets with Eric for some reason or whatever, and he gives her a ring, which was originally his great-great-grandmother's wedding ring, as a good luck token for her coronation. And honestly, I finished The Crown yesterday, and I cannot recall any of Edeline and Eric's conversations. They are so boring. Eric is boring too. Like, I don't know what it is about him, but, you know, we have about 150 pages left. This book needs to wrap up, and we still don't have a true love interest. So, she is in love with Eric now. Cool! They almost kiss, but then they don't. The coronation day comes and happens, and Aaron is there, and they are not fighting anymore, and everything is good, and everything is forgiven. She is his queen now. At the after party, Mara is there, and he speaks to a camera crew. Bestie is hinting to the camera team that he might have feelings for Edeline. When the camera is gone, she's like, well, Bestie, you really can't do that. I'm in the middle of a selection, you know, that's so inappropriate, stop doing that. But then, suddenly, his eyes darken, and his voice gets slick, and he's like, so what if I am hinting at this? He proposes marriage to Edeline to blow off the selection, and if she will not marry him, then he, who is far more beloved in the public eye than her, will convince everyone of their love in radio shows and everything, and completely undermine the selection. And if she turns him away, the public will turn against her because he is so beloved. He is in Elia, and he wants a crown, and if she doesn't marry him, he will drag her on God through the mud, through the press. He is a bad guy because Miss Cass realized we don't have a bad guy. Let's invent one. Outside, she meets Eric and takes his hand and runs away to another room where she confesses her feelings for him. And in a twist that screams, why? Okay, I don't really care. He reciprocates her feelings and they kiss. Where did this come from? I don't know. I guess he is nice, but nothing else. But at last, they cannot be together because she has to choose from the selected. This revelation happens less than 100 pages before the end, by the way. You want me to care about this? Girl, is there a chance that you feel for me the way I feel for you? If you felt even a fraction of this riot that's been happening in my heart, I need to know. Eric let out a breath, seeming stunned and sad at once. Your Majesty, No, I said, ripping the crown off my head and flinging it across the room. Not Majesty, Edeline. I am just Edeline. He smiled. You are always just Edeline. And you are always the queen. You are everything to everyone, and infinitely more to me. When we finally broke apart, I was in tears, positive that Aaron leaving and the fear of losing my mother had been painless in comparison to this. I dug my fingers into his shirt, his vest, so angry that I couldn't hold on to it forever. This will be the first time in my life I haven't been able to have something I truly wanted. It's so cruel that it happens to be you. It really is impossible then. I didn't want to say the words. I'm afraid so, in so many ways. Now I can hardly grasp it all to explain, but everything just got much more complicated for me. I'm so sorry. If I thought I could cancel the whole thing, I would, but it would be seen as one more mistake on top of all of the other selfish, stupid things I've done. Please. Using his other hand, he gently lifted my chin. Please don't speak that way about the woman I love. I've been so unfair to you. It was eating me alive, all the wondering, but maybe we would have been better off if we'd never known. No, he said, somehow able to find comfort in the middle of us being torn apart. There is no shame in loving who you love, and there is great honor in doing what is right.
It's a pity those two things don't overlap for us, but that makes this moment no less important to me.
Cool.
Lit. I love it. Yes. This is so stupid. Did I read the wrong book? Because where was any of this at any point? I'm bored with this eyeshadow. I will stop doing it now. Maybe some glitter will help. In hopes to circumvent the coup of public opinion from Marid, she decides to cut the selection time down to 2 weeks, and in the end to choose between Henry and Kyle, picking Kyle. So she needs to get married fast now that Marid does not have enough time to enact his plan. But in the meantime, she has plenty of opportunity to sneak around with Eric, a guy as interesting as a coat hanger. He is also, by the way, okay, they kissed yesterday for the first time. She knows she has feelings for him for like 2 days, but now he is her soulmate. Just go with it. The book is almost over anyway. They say sneak off once and like make out, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. Josie brought coffee once. So now they're BFFs. New Edeline loves everyone. He doesn't dislike Josie anymore. But then a bombshell happened. Josie storms in. Marid has been spotted shopping for engagement rings. The press and the country is abuzz, and we need to shut it down. He's conspiring to take power, and he will probably push us down a flight of stairs. In crisis mode, she sends Fox, Hale, and Ian, who are still there, kind of, home immediately. She sends for Eric, and they say their final goodbyes. After this, they will not talk to each other anymore. And they have a tear-jerking moment. I love you. Please keep my mother's ring. No, I can't keep your mother's ring. No, please keep it. You're the girl I love. And then she's like, oh, here, have a ring too. And then she cries. Okay, moving on. Crisis mode. The book needs to end. She goes to Kyle's room and intends to propose, but when she sees him doing his architecture stuff, she cannot do it. And even though Kyle proposes to her and says, I like you, because as you know, a king, you can't be an architect. She says, no, I can't do this to you, and she banishes him from the castle so that he can jet set around this world and build houses for the poor. She has decided to marry Henry now. Cool. So she goes to Henry's room and tells him the news, and he is delighted and proposes, and now they're engaged. They want to do the announcement on the news again, but shortly before they can make the announcement, Henry notices the connection between Edeline and Eric, who is in the room. And Henry takes their hands and is like, I love you two both, my dearest friends. Please, you love each other. Get married. That little non-speech, because Henry still doesn't know any English, was all it took. There are no issues anymore. So Edeline goes running to Max and her dad and is like, Daddy, I love Eric. And he's like, who? The translator, Daddy. I want to marry him. So Maxon and Edeline go outside and have a conversation that boils down to, I love you, sweetie, follow your heart, and don't worry about treason, because me and your mom did plenty of treason too, and don't worry that the people hate you. Do what your heart tells you. And oh, Lady Bryce, the advisor lady, she is your aunt, and my illegitimate half sister, and I stole her as a child from her mother. I'm not kidding you. Here it is. So Maxon's father had an affair with a woman for a long time, and Maxon hated that woman, and he calls her a hoe all the time. Rysand would be appalled by the way that Maxon speaks of this woman. Like, never blame the mistress, okay? She is just another girl boss doing her girl boss things. Yes. Sleep with the king. Okay, so she confronts his father's mistress. I was filled with so much anger at this woman, irate that she had the gall to show her face while my mother slept just around the corner, so I stopped her and told her something to that effect. Then she lowered her face to my ear and whispered, "I'll tell your little sister you said hello." And he says that technically you have to kill illegitimate children of the royal family, but once he saw her little sister, he couldn't do it. So, and I quote, "I took her away from her mother, kept her near me, and have been protecting her ever since." Lady Bryce, I asked? Lady Bryce. I don't know if this is as funny to everybody as it is to me, but did he just steal a child? Cool. Also, that must have happened before the original selection. So he has been hiding a baby in the palace all this time? Because it said that he was like at least 16 or 15. So with 15 he stole the baby. Who took care? Never mind this. "I love you, Daddy," she hugs him. And then she rushes into the news and speaks. "Hey folks, I am in love with this translator guy. His name is Eric. Also, I will marry him. And also, we're a constitutional monarchy now." Where did that come from? Okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Don't think about it. Marit calls. He's like, "You can't do this." And she's like, "Yes, I can. I'm a girl boss." And she hangs up. And this is the last page. "Oh my goodness, I have to call Aaron," I exclaimed. "We'll add that to the list of things to do. Get engaged, check. Change the country, check. What's next on the agenda?" I looked across the room, watching my father shake Aiko's hand. Oh, Aiko is Eric's other name. His Swendway name. And Mom reached up to kiss his cheek. Changing my life. And I underlined it. Must be important to me. The epilogue is boring. Don't worry about it. The end. Forever. I hope. Fingers crossed. Okay, so these two books. They are books. First things first. Have a statement out there. So, next statement. So positives. The book covers are amazing. I mean, look at how pretty they are. All of them. Then Edeline in the first book is a much more interesting character than I remembered. Then other positives. The gay agenda. Oh my god. Gay rights. Am I right? Other good things? I don't know. Okay. Here's everything I don't like about the book. There's no charm to this book. Book 1, 2, 3 with America. Okay, America sucks. But at least it's charming. And it's a story. This is, I don't know. It's rushed. The pacing is so weird. We introduce all the conflict in book 2 right at the end. Boring. Edeline changed too much. Okay, I hate it. I thought after finishing the 4th book that I was like, maybe I misjudged this. Maybe I like this series. No, I hate this. What is this? They pulled that love story out of their ass. Who the fuck is even Eric? He has no chemistry. And I know nothing about him, and they know nothing about each other, and they just up and end decide that they're in love, and I hate it. I don't love America and Maxon, but at least in my opinion, they had enough time to get to know each other, and yeah, maybe they could be happy. You know, maybe I buy that they're happy for the rest of their lives. When they met, when their frontal lobes weren't even developed. Boy, she has never talked with Eric more than like 3 times. And then they tell each other that they love each other. Americans. I like that she didn't pick Kyle. Love sucks. Go live your passion or whatever. Architecting. But at least he was like kind of a person. None of the candidates had the charm of Celeste Newsome. I hated them all. I don't know. You know, the vibe of these books is just not very cash money. Why did you even tell me about Lady Bryce? I don't care. I don't care about any of these people. This whole story. book 4 and 5, it feels so loveless. Like, I wish it wasn't released. Not everything needs more books. Okay, so I give the Heir 2.4 out of 5 stars. 0.4 because I understand or get Italy in some way. Then 1 point is for the series being incredibly easy to read. Like, if you are not a reader and you just want to read something, read this series. It's so easy to read. I reread The Crown in under 3 hours yesterday. Okay, they're so thin and they're so pretty. 1 star is just for the covers. You know, they're great. So 1 star for the cover, 1 star for being easy to read, and then 0.4 for Italy not sucking that bad. I recommend selection 1, 2, 3 still, even though it sucks. But 4 and 5, girl, don't waste your time. It's kind of gross seeing America and Maxim grown up with a family and everything. You know, it's like, think about how your parents were once in love before they got divorced, of course. Not everything needs to have a spin-off, okay? Not everything needs a sequel. Don't read this. Cool. Bye. Brush your teeth and stay cute. Bye.